Hello, and welcome to Greet the Week. I am Mona Duncan, and our chat is about looking at how we can appreciate and be aware of that the now is all there is, and that whatever life hands us, that we can have uh, more effective control over it and appreciate it and see that it's life lessons. So our topic today is on relationship. It's all about relationship, and looking at this. And what does it mean to relate? Matter of fact, I noticed that from the cradle to the grave, one of the most basic universal human needs is to love and to be loved. And it means to belong, to be a part of, to be a viable part of, or in kind of a non-touchy-feely words, it means about being relatable, that we can relate to someone else and they in turn can relate to us. So relate, looking at the thesaurus, it means to communicate, to share, to convey, transmit, something that we can associate together, we can have a kinship to. Relationship is being accepted for who we are, for feeling like that we fit in, and to know that we matter. It is the mutual exchange of genuine caring as well as the flow of ideas, where whether it is for or against, or whether it is a little difference there, we can still have that flow of ideas with each other in a relatable way. Relationship is being esteemed as valuable and that your input counts, that you matter. Relationship is akin to relate, meaning to connect, to understand, to be a part of. Relating is a mystery to ponder deeply. There is good relationships that are not always, there are people who are good at relationships that are not always good at relating. And then there are also those in challenging relationships that are not always in bad relationships. They can still make it good, make it palpable, make it relatable, even though there's a lot of challenges there. And so since relationship always, for it really to be relatable, involves two or more people, and since all of us are unique and different, one will have a greater influence over others. So here is a poem by Ella Wheeler Wilcox that I think sets up really well about looking at relationships and how that being more relatable. Her poem says, one ship sails east, one ship sails west, regardless of how the wind blows. It is the set of the sail and not the gale that determines the way we go. Like the winds of the sea and the waves of fate, as we voyage along through life, it is the set of the soul that determines the goal and not the calm or the strife. So no matter what all is going on with people that we are close to, that we are not close to, that we are working with, that we are in the neighborhood of, it is determined by whether there's the calm or the strife as to how well we go. So I think of Einstein's theory of relativity, and in it, he gave three, out of the dictionary, they gave three sources or three definitions of the theory of relativity. One is that the laws of love and belonging are that the laws in Einstein's theory of relativity, it was that all of the laws, the universal laws, as in morning, night, gravity, all of that kind of stuff, they are the same in any system regardless of its velocity. But I began to look at those three qualifiers and put them in terms of relationship, and that the laws, I'm the one that put in, of love and belonging, are the same in any relationship regardless of its velocity, whether it's long-term, whether it's short-term, because it depends on us individually. that light is a consistent, independent source of the system, meaning that right in the middle of our universe, there is a sun. And all of the planets in the universe revolve around that sun. So that light, which represents our consciousness, is an independent source of the system. There's always light, even in the middle of the night. We can have an insight. We can have some thoughts that weren't there before. And that an entity flowing in a successful relationship to a passive observer appears to have happened with little or no effort. Meaning that you know someone that seems to have these wonderful, wonderful relationships, and you have a tendency to think, well, he was born that way. Well, that's just the way she is. But according to Einstein's relativity, to a casual observer, it appears that all those things happened and there wasn't any effort to it. But knowing about the maladies of life and getting along and overcoming, it does take a lot of our personal involvement into helping things to flow smoothly. So in a website called Infinite Infinity, this is a direct quote from them. Why is it that the atoms and the molecules in our brains create an experience of three-dimensional space, time, the experience of your own body, and the experience of your mind, and the experience of everything around us that we encounter daily? Experiences, we create the illusion of manifested reality. That is what science calls the hard problem of consciousness, or that is the so-called mind-matter problem. Meaning, if supposedly what we see is an illusion, then how can we have all these perceptions of distance and up, down? So, again, back to the website of Infinite Infinity, they suggest that we switch from matter as the primary to consciousness as primary. And then the problem is solvable. When we're saying this is the way I see things, the way I understand things, as opposed to this is it, as opposed to it being concrete, let it be more consciousness. In the book, Aristotle for Everyone, he talked about again and again and again, the author did, how that Aristotle would look at how things came into being and realize that there was something in nature that had given us that original idea. Or, in other words, all things are created twice, first in the mind and then in the relationship, then in reality. And so it is the more. So here's some suggestions on relating. To choose to respect others while engaging, while realizing that we can have a deliberate purpose of I will respect you. But also realizing that we really need to earn respect from others. That not everyone is always willing to just give that. It's also realizing that the only person we can control is ourselves. And what is it about ourselves that we can't control? Well, the word your is in front of it, or my is in front of it. The only thing I can control is my words, my attitudes, my facial expressions, my actions, my thoughts, my choices, my feelings, your schedule, my schedule, what I spend, where I go, with whom I associate. Did I say there that we can choose our feelings? Well, according to Dr. William Glasser, we really do. The thing of it is with not being conscious about that, we just, whenever they come in and they are a part of what we're, of our emotions, we often think that we're not feeling it, that that's happening to us. And so here is our behavior card, and how the thinking and the acting is the front part. It's the doing part. That's what we're doing, and it leads. Whereas the following, the wheels that follow what where the front wheels go, and we in the driver's seat are turning the wheel to go left, right, straight ahead, or whatever, that it is the physiology and the feelings that follow. So our feelings are really passive. Even if it's an explosion of anger, it's coming out in the passive way of overriding the thinking and the feeling. But yes, you can learn to control your feelings, but it starts with controlling your thoughts and your actions, because it is easier to think yourself and to act yourself into feeling differently than it is to feel yourself into thinking or acting differently. So here's a couple more suggestions for relating or being relatable. You are always influencing others, either positively, negatively, either a lot or not so much. Be a positive influencer by remaining cheerful, even in a difficult situation, not being argumentative. Hold the person in high regard as a human being with infinite worth and value, even if that person is disagreeable with his or her ideas or politics or beliefs or whatever. Find something good in each person and in every situation. Be a good finder. And solve problems, see problems as solvable and as character, even though they may be character building challenges. Also, suggestions for relating is to discover the doorway to communication. Our attitudes and our behaviors create a doorway to which we allow others to be welcome in, or we begin to close the door where they're not so well. The door's either open or the door is closed. So if the person interacting with you or you interacting with them intentionally or unintentionally are against your specifications, then we have a tendency to close down, partially or all the way down. To adjust our style is to maybe to be reopening and to have communication, have a win-win relationship, and lessening or even being diligent about removing any tension, because we have an exchange of energy with everyone that we meet. Also, in relating is providing an inclusive and accepting relationship that gives room to grow. That the tension here is acceptance does not mean approval. It is realizing that many relationships are harmed by failure to accept the person as he is because of disapproval of how they think or how they behave, or just because we don't want them to think we're approving whenever there's not that approval there. But trying to make this person change results in resistance. As relationship is built, the other person is in a greater position to receive your wise wisdom. And then also realizing that you do not have to attend every argument to which you are invited. You do not have to acknowledge or even try to correct every comment, every behavior, every attitude. Overlook as much as negative behavior as possible, and continually accept and continually look for acceptable behaviors. Accentuating the positive sets the environment to eliminating the negative. As Ann Landers said at one time, just because a donkey brays does not mean you have to acknowledge them. And so, but you do need to be kind to them, even if the person is the difficult person or not. So Richard Rohr has written a very long poem entitled The Shining Word And I picked out just a few of the ands that I wanted to incorporate with relationship building. Starts off with the rusty hinges of my heart slowly unfold to make a space for and. I breathe it in and out, and in and out. And teaches us to say yes. And allows us to be both and keeps us from either or. We begin to be so expansive when we look at and instead of just this. And keeps us from either or. And teaches us to be patient and long-suffering. And is willing to wait for insight and integration. So, think you can do it? Well, I think you can. Thanks for joining and appreciate your being here, and many blessings.
Interesting.